the actual start here. So here we go. So this is AbilityMKE Now. We are starting in about 20 seconds and we'll be back live on River West Radio here in just a moment. So hang tight. Welcome to AbilityMKE Now, live on River West Radio. We are a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own or with people we know, or with people we encounter in our everyday lives. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. I am very excited to have a wonderful guest joining us this evening. As you all know from times that we've been on here repeatedly, we meet some wonderful people through different networking groups that we are a part of. And honestly, I have not had the pleasure yet, other than just before the show starting, I have not yet had the chance to have a real good conversation yet with our guest tonight to find out more about what he all does. So I am super excited to have that opportunity here. So, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Bobby to join us. So Emily is going to be in here soon. She was going to do a quick intro, but I think we're having a little bit of time.
Okay.
Oh, are you here? Okay, perfect.
I'm here.
Yeah, come on in and give us a quick introduction, please.
Okay, hold on. Let me get myself on camera. But anyway, I guess we met through the Happy Neighborhood Project, who is out in the New York area. And he's got his kind of counseling therapy with quite a few disability people, among others, I think. But I'll let tell you about more what he does. So Bobby, can you maybe say who you are, what you do? Calls himself the precision coach. It's hard to say.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Bobby. Come on in and tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you all do.
Okay, I'm Bobby, and I'm a life coach. Thank you so much for having me on this show. Glad to be here, grateful to be here. What I do, as Emily said, I do have a background in counseling and doing therapy. I used to do therapy, social work, case management, and life coaching. Right now, the bulk of what I do is in life coaching.
Excellent. So how did you really get started in that? What led you down this path? Because that's a great thing. I'm excited to hear more about what kind of impact you've made with people and maybe some stories, but give us a little more background of how you came down this path.
It's very interesting that you asked that, because if you asked this from me yesterday, I would have given you a different answer. I came up with a new answer today because every time someone asked me why I became a life coach, I would say, well, first I was a therapist, and then I realized that my favorite part of doing therapy was the part where I get to coach someone, which you're not supposed to really do much of, right? Therapy is for just sitting back and facilitating an environment that's for healing. But coaching is more hands-on. It's more two-way. It's more proactive. So maybe if we get time, I can explain more of that. So what I say is, I started as a therapist. I realized that the coaching parts of what I did were my favorite, and then I went into coaching. However, today I realized that bigger than that, the reason I like it so much is because of my own journey, because of the struggles that I've gone through. And I think I came up with this as I thought about this show and as I thought about people with cognitive difficulties or different levels of disabilities. That I had to deal with a lot of that as a child growing up. And if you were to show me where I am in life today, back then, I would not have believed it. So I've gone through a lot of challenges and I've had to work a lot through overcoming a lot of these obstacles and coming up with different strategies to get to where I am. And that is what has shown me that this is possible, and that is what inspires me to help other people do the same and to overcome their life challenges. So the short answer is my own struggles and overcoming them.
Excellent. So with what you do, what is your favorite part about what you do?
My favorite part about what I do is when people are in disbelief and they don't think that they can do what we talk about, and they are in a negative space and they keep trying and they see nothing, and all of a sudden they tap into something. All of a sudden their next attempt actually works, and they're so excited and so elated because they tapped into that empowerment, that part of themselves that is not always there. When I help people bring that out, that's my favorite part.
Awesome. So I'm curious if you have maybe a favorite story or two that you could share with us about somebody that you've worked with and what this has done for them. And actually, maybe also if you have an idea of a story that someone that you worked with that ended up impacting you in a way that you didn't expect. No,
Okay.
throwing you a deep one.
Yeah. Yeah, I could say, well, I was thinking of someone that could be more relatable to this show, but when you said the
Sure.
second part, the person who impacted me was a physician that I worked with, and this was a couple of years ago. He's the one who got me to seriously consider coaching as my main occupation, because he was at the time 69 years old. He's 71 now, and he wasn't really that sure how much change he could make in his life at that age, working as a physician, but he was stressed out. He didn't have enough time to do the things he loved to do. He was kind of disorganized in his mind at work, at home. And we worked together to do some things that he did not believe that were possible. And I thought that if he said one day, he said to me that I changed his life, and he's said it a few times since, and I correct him and I say that I facilitated it. Of course, he's the one changing his life. But that was such a great thing that happened to me, such an inspiring thing that happened to me, that if I can help someone who was in disbelief and who used age as something that meant he's limited to change or whatever else excuses he may have had, if I can help someone like that change his life, then imagine what else I could do.
I love that. That is amazing.
Thank you.
So, and now you said you had another story possibly in mind. Would you care to share that one as well?
Sure. Yeah, I had well, this is a client that I still have, and he came in with social anxiety, with depression, with ADHD, and all sorts of things. And he'd gone through different therapists and coaches and medications, and none of those things, he said none of them had worked. And I told him that I am excited to work with him because I thought that our work would pay off. And the way I coach is I coach immersively, meaning that, well, first of all, I use the background I have from therapy and I bring it into coaching, right? But I also coach immersively, meaning I don't take on more than 4 clients at each given time. And with each of those people, I work every day. right? Because everyone who comes in and is facing a challenge like ADHD, like psychiatric diagnosis, whatever it is, and they want to really fundamentally change things, they're going to fall back a lot. And so many people need someone to help them every time they fall back, to help them every time they want to problem solve. And that has to get repeated so many times that the person finally has that breakthrough and keeps that breakthrough. So the client that I had, I said, let's start working together. And somehow I was just confident that even though he's had a lot of attempts that didn't work, it's going to work with me. And one of the issues he had was he didn't have a job. And he didn't have money, but he got the money together somehow. He worked with me, and it came to a point where he said the amount of change that he saw during that time was more than anything he had ever seen before, and how much he had seen himself do because of all the support that I gave him to take action and see the things he could actually do. And the thing that really made me believe that he's telling me the truth is he actually went and borrowed more money to extend his package with me because he saw how much change was possible. So I just think of him whenever I'm having a dull moment, whenever I'm having self-doubt, he is one of the people I think of. Is, in such a short time, we made so much change together.
I love what you're saying, though, that your approach is different, because being able to meet with somebody on a daily basis, I'm just picturing how big of an impact that can make then, because I know if you are only typically seeing somebody once a week or once every other week, you can hit some pieces, but to keep things rolling forward is way more difficult. So if you're able to work with them on a daily basis, oh my gosh, that would just snowball things forward so much faster. That I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
So,
Just to qualify something, I don't see them every day. I see them once a week in a session. We're in touch. The rest of the week we're in touch through text and phone calls.
okay.
So yeah, I do work with them every day, especially when it comes to accountability, when it comes to reporting what problems they run into when they try these new things, and then problem solving together and holding them accountable to keep moving forward when others would just give up and go back to baseline.
Amazing. All right. I love that. So now I see you're the precision coach. How did you come up with the name like that? What does that mean with your perspective? Because I'm picturing in my mind where that all came from. I'm curious what was in your mind as you created that name, because it brings a lot of good pieces forward in my mind.
Sure. So like I said, I had to struggle a lot growing up through different challenges. So I had some sort of a learning disability, which to this day is up for debate. It could, it could be ADHD, it could be something on the spectrum. I don't know what it is, but it was clearly there, which made me a little different from others. I would not be paying attention when I should be, not be picking up on some social cues when I could have been, not doing well academically, all of that, right? And I really suffered from that. And over time, I came up with different strategies to make up for it. Different strategies that, okay, my mind works differently for whatever reason it is, and I have to find a way to connect with other people in the way that works for most people, right? In the way that in the normative way, right? So I can adjust. One of those ways that was extremely helpful happens to be something that works for actually anybody, not just people with disabilities or psychiatric issues or whatever else limits them. One of those ways is precision, meaning is clear, concise steps to take. If you bring 10 people in here and ask them, what is it that you want to change in your life? They might all 10 of them might say something. This is what I want to change. I want to be more present. I want to be more attentive. I want to be more productive. I want to procrastinate less, and so on and so forth. And then if you go around and asking them, what are you doing right now exactly? for that today. What are you doing? What steps, what precise steps are you taking? Most of those people will not be able to tell you. And in fact, I think most people are stuck behind that lack of clarity when it comes to their actions, right? That it's not the only reason why we don't move forward with change oftentimes, but lack of clarity. So what I do is I help people to break down big, vague, pie in the sky goals and ideals. What is it that you're going to do today exactly? For me, and for a lot of people I know, what really works is specific instruction, specific knowledge of what am I doing today? What specific, precise action am I taking today? And just to add a piece to that, we all think that when we have goals, thinking of the big picture is helpful. But what a lot of people don't know is it can be helpful only in limited amounts and only to give us a direction, right? If I'm climbing a mountain and the entire time I'm thinking of how much work there's left to do, how many more steps I have to take, the entire time I'm staring at the top of it, it's intimidating and tiring. So the trick is to think of the big picture when I need to move forward sometimes, and when I need to know my direction sometimes. And for most of the time, to just focus on exactly the things that I have to do for today. That's the best way we could get there, because when tomorrow comes, that's also the only thing I have to worry about. Exactly the things I have to do tomorrow. That specificity, that simplicity is what helps people get to their goals. Focusing on the current steps they're taking as opposed to this vague goal down the road that is usually insufficient to pull people through.
I love that so much. That makes total sense. That clicks in my mind perfectly, because I know I've got projects I work on. I've got things that I want to get accomplished, but they are, sometimes it's overwhelming. It's like, I don't know where to start. And to actually break it down and think, okay, what's next? What do I need to do right now? That makes all the difference. If you can make an action plan like that, so you can really see what is immediately in front of me, and then take care of that, and then you can see what's next after that. I love that so much. That makes absolute sense to me.
We like to be grounded. We don't like to be floating in uncertainty. We like to be grounded, and knowing what exactly I'm doing today is a grounding thing. And I want to ask you, how similar was this explanation to what you thought about precision? Because you said you had an idea.
It's in the same, that's a great question, because it is actually, I guess it's in the realm, but I wasn't picturing it being that next step. That makes total sense to me, because precision coach, I have in my mind, it's like, you know, that we're going to take something, I guess, actually right in front of me and move forward on a direct line towards the goal. So it coincides, I think, with how you said it, but what was in my head was just a little different, because I like the part where you're saying, you know, okay, that goal's out there, but let's focus on the next steps. What are we doing today? And to make it that simple, really, in my mind, of, okay, it might not be easy, but it is that simple then, of what's next? What do I need to do now? So that is so awesome. I love that. Oh,
Great.
gosh.
Great.
So have you had many clients that would consider themselves to be in the disability world somehow? I'm just kind of curious if that is a piece of what you encounter very often, or is that a less common thing for you?
Not very common. And perhaps it's because I haven't exposed myself on my work to programs like yours. But it also depends on what you consider disability. I think social anxiety, for example, which is one of the things that I'm familiar working with, is something that could be quite disabling. Because it can deprive the person of the normal everyday social interactions that they want to have, especially when it's severe. And I also think it's one of those so I consider it a disability at a certain point, and it's also one of those disabilities that can actually be compensated for and worked through. That I've worked with. However, people who are considered people with disability, that's not very, I haven't had much of that so far. No.
Oh, good. Just kind of curious because we're all in different places, and at what point in a person's life that they start looking around to say, you know what, I need some kind of a coach here. I need to know, I need some help with where I'm going. So how do people typically find you? Where are, is there a kind of a theme that you see in people that are reaching out and finding you?
Good question. I think people who reach out and find me are people who are just really motivated about growth, about personal development. People who want to change, who want to grow, who are ready to take action, and then they come to me. Because usually if they're in a place where they just feel completely defeated and they're in a lot of pain and they feel like they need a place to heal, then I would recommend therapy, which is very, very important for someone who wants to heal. Right. And what I say is therapy is for healing and coaching is for excelling, both necessary depending on where you are. Right. And yeah, I think those are the people that reach out, and sometimes those limitations, if you want to call something like ADHD a disability, or anxiety, things that are very limiting, are what caused the person to come forward and say, yeah, I have a job, yeah, I have a family, or whatever it is that I'm dealing with successfully, but I want more. I want to connect to people at work, or I want to create more time for myself outside of work. But I can't. My mind is so scattered. I'm all over the place. I can't function like most people do. I'm too nervous. I'm too anxious. All those things.
And I see with what your background is too, that you do have a definite advantage in having the background of therapy, that you can recognize those pieces and see, in my mind, I'm seeing that you'd have a clearer picture of what's going to be most beneficial for the person you're talking to. Are they in a place where they really are ready to be coached, or are they in a place where some more the therapy end of things would be where they are now? And then to create that action plan to see, okay, so what's the next step? What should you be doing now? And that it gives you such an advantage in being able to I guess I'm picturing it as you can kind of take a step back and see a little clearer where a person is. Because I know some people are coaches that don't have that kind of background to be able to recognize when therapy might be the right answer. I think that, I'm really appreciating where you're coming from and what you're able to offer to your clients this way. I think this is amazing. I'm so glad you're here to be able to share this with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I am fortunate to have that advantage because I do have experience with people in people seeking therapy. And as therapists, we are also trained to have a lot of respect for evidence-based practice, meaning practice that's based on science, based on actual findings that actually, have shown to work and are aligned with scientific findings about the human mind. And I put a lot of emphasis on that.
Awesome. So where do you picture your coaching going in the future? Do you have ideas of, I know you said you take on limited clients at a time, which makes perfect sense to me.
Limited.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where do you picture your coaching going in the future? Do you see a way that you may expand, or do you like what you're doing that you keep it focused on a limited number that way, so you can do the most with the individuals that way?
Good question. So yeah, my clients know, they come to me for that specific thing that I offer. So they expect individualized attention, they expect individualized work, and the cost that would be associated with that kind of coaching. And that's what I do right now. Down the line, I don't know. I don't know. I'm really enjoying this. So I don't know. Maybe at some. I know the trend is when coaches do a lot of individual work, then they do groups and they work with people. If I find a way to get this kind of result and fulfillment in a group setting, then yeah, I will do that. But for right now, I'm focused on how to make the best out of this individualized work.
So you are in the place that you're meant to be right now. That's perfect. I love that.
I think so, yeah.
So, and actually, I was going to bring Emily back in to see. I know you two had met before now, so I thought perhaps do you have any questions that you would like to ask of Bobby as well, Emily?
I'm not sure, but I know the question we've asked at the end before, Sue.
Oh, go ahead.
About what's your favorite ice cream?
My favorite ice cream is, good question. I have a few, and the one that comes to my mind is Ben and Jerry's vegan cherry Garcia.
Oh, very nice. And very specific. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the vegan part of it, not just
Yeah. I only eat vegan ice cream, and that one is one of my favorite ones that comes to mind.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, Emily, I got to ask what yours is today. What are you in the mood for?
probably chocolate.
Which?
Chocolate.
Regular chocolate?
Mhm.
Yeah. Actually, chocolate and brownie, like the double chocolate kind, chocolate and brownie, that's also on the top of my list.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Actually, what I have in the freezer right now, I've got vanilla with cookie dough and brownie pieces. It's one I hadn't tried before, and it's, I think, my new favorite. It's been really good.
Sounds
That
good.
sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Lucky for me, the rest of my family thinks it's a little too sweet, so I get to have this one, I think.
I I don't understand that concept.
I
Too sweet,
know.
too sweet.
How is that
Even like
possible?
yeah, even like when I put actual like agave syrup in my mouth, it's like, sweet. I like it. It's just never too sweet for me.
Oh, excellent. Well, and before I forget to ask, I'm wondering if you would be willing to share if you have like a website or a way that people could contact you if they want to reach out at some point. Do you have a website that you could share with us?
Well, thank you for asking that. So my website is theprecisioncoach.com. And over there, when they go on the website, I talk about what I do, and there is a button that they can click on to book a consult, to sign up for a consult session with me, and I get back to them. And if we are a good fit, I set up a complimentary consult session to see how we can work together.
Oh, and that's perfect. That was the next thing I was going to ask you, was how you get somebody started. So you have a consultation with them to see if the fit is right, and then you go from there.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right. Well, we have just over a minute left here. I'm wondering if you've got just like maybe a 30-second take-home message for people if they're thinking about perhaps looking into a coach or that type of thing. How would you recommend a person go looking for the right person?
Good question. So I know this from therapy, that the best parameter of finding the right therapist is not where the therapist graduated or how many years they've been working even, or anything else about them, as much as what the fit is like, what the connection is like, right? So once you find a therapist that sounds like a regular therapist that does what a therapist should do, you experience them and see if you feel that it's right for you. For coaching is a little bit more niched. So if you're looking in the right niche, like for example, if you want to work with someone who does accountability or time management or whatever it is that you want to do, you look for that, you find the right coach, and just experience them. Have a session with them and see how it goes and if you feel right.
That is perfect. Well, I can't thank you enough to be joining us here with Ability